Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome back to week 4 of the Deadbolt budget build. Sorry I didn't get out the 2-part video from last week. I ended up getting sick for a few days and just really didn't have the energy to get down here and get that done. But I will remind you that I did have a link in the description of that last video with a detailed in-depth video on how exactly to build links. And as we go, I'll explain more about why I did a 3-link with panhard, as well as the other setup things that I'll do on this rig as we go down the road and really get into some of the performance parts of this truck. But for this week, we're getting a new set of wheels. Now, for wheels, this is a brand new set of wheels from a brand new company, a company that I've never worked with before. They're SSD RC. Now, this is a stamped steel beadlock set. Now, we've seen stamped steel wheels before, and the nice thing about them generally is that they're very inexpensive. This follows suit in the same line. Now, with this set here, the one difference that you will see from some of the other ones that you've seen before is this one actually has an exterior beadlock ring here, and it actually comes with all scale hardware in it. A nice touch, especially for the price point. Now, it doesn't come with the tool to remove any of that hardware. However, you don't actually have to. All of it is done by removing the 6 bolts around the center hub on this wheel. Now, I got a black on black set. There's also a black on chrome-ish style set. But for this build, they're very inexpensive. Now, with this truck, I will likely set up more than one set of wheels and tires down the road. I'll set up one that's very focused on technical crawling and one that's more set up for longer trail rides or G6 type setups. And I'll show you why and what the difference of those things is going to be. Now, setting up multiple wheels, sets of wheels and tires isn't necessarily for everyone, but as you go and you kind of build the parts and things that you have and the collection of things you have, having 2 sets of wheels and tires for a car is a good idea for a lot of things. Anyway, this week I want to show you exactly how I do this, because this car comes with the Maxxis R35 tires from Axial. Now, that's the sticky compound. Some of their ready-to-runs do not come with a sticky compound. They're much harder, and they don't climb as well when you're on the rocks. Now, the Maxxis Trepidor is a decent all-around tire. It's not the best at anything. It does clog up with mud a little bit, and it's not the absolute best on the rocks, but it does trails and rocks fairly well. So we want to use them because a set of tires is going to probably cost you close to $50, and inside of those tires, you need to put foams generally, or better foams usually than they come with, to get maximum performance out of it. But since this week we need to do little bits at a time, we're going to start with the wheels so that we can easily disassemble these and reassemble them with either different foams or different tires as we go down the road. But these tires are glued onto those stock plastic wheels. So I'm going to show you the method that I use personally to remove those tires from those wheels without damaging either part. Now, there's lots of methods that you've probably seen for removing tires. I use a bake-off method. It does produce a little bit of a smell, but not that bad. I've done it in the house lots of times and never gotten that much trouble for it. But I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do. I'm actually going to do it down in the shop today on a toaster oven. The reason I'm going to do it in that is because I'm only going to do 2, because I happen to have 2 new Maxxis Trepidor here already in the shop. So I'm going to make this go a little bit quicker for myself by mounting 2 of the new ones and then removing 2 of the old ones. So we're going to take the truck, head into the shop, and I'll show you exactly how we get this process done. All right, guys, so we're going to use my little trusty toaster oven here. I use it mostly to kind of bake parts that I've painted and don't really feel like waiting for. I've got this thing set for 325 degrees. Now, what I've done is I've taken and put 2 of the tires onto a sheet. Now, normally I use like a cookie sheet with tin foil on it. Tin foil is just to kind of protect the sheet more than anything. But 2 of the tires on there, we're going to stick them in there just like this on 325 for 20 minutes. So we still have a few minutes before this thing dings. As soon as it does ding, while wearing gloves, I'm going to do the following process. I'm going to pull the tray out, and then with the wheel, the side that's facing up, I'm going to remove that bead of the tire from the wheel itself. It should happen very easily, and all you have to do is just get it nice and unseated. Don't have to worry too much about exactly where it sits. Do that on both wheels, and then take the wheel and tire, put it upside down back on that tray, and put them back in for 5 more minutes. As soon as that dings, you're gonna completely remove the tire from the wheel. This was just an unglued tire and wheel, for example. One more thing to mention, if you have been running this truck and you've been running in any water, beware of any steam that may come out of these, because obviously that steam is going to be very hot. So just one more thing to note, if you've been running in any water, beware of any steam that can be inside of these wheels and tires. That's all there is to it. You can see a little bit of a glue residue around the bead area, but everything came off very nicely. The steam coming out of here is most likely from some water that I had in the tire when running. And like I said, just beware of that. And as well as the tire is hot now, I can feel it through these gloves, but these are pretty thick gloves, so the temperature is not a problem. But again, these tires are perfectly good to use on your next set of wheels. And again, if you are interested in using the wheels again, you can't even tell that they were ever glued with this setup here. So these are completely usable again if you just want to change a new set of tires onto your existing wheels. All right, now that I've showed you how to remove the stock tires from the stock plastic wheels, I'm going to show you how to mount these existing tires onto a set of these new 3-piece beadlock wheels. Now, a beadlock wheel is something that a lot of RCers may not be familiar with if they didn't come from the crawling or scaling scene. What a beadlock wheel is it's a wheel that has specific features that are made to clamp the tire onto the wheel and hold it there without the use of any adhesive whatsoever. The bead of the tire is that lip that you feel around the inside diameter of the opening of the tire. And what this particular wheel is it's a 3-piece design, as it's referred to. Now, a lot of beadlock wheels are consisting of 3 pieces, usually a center hoop and then an inside and an outside ring. However, what this means when it says a 3-piece wheel is a front half, a back half, and then a center clamping ring. Now, it makes for pretty easy tire mounting if you just spend a little bit of time to make sure everything is lined up perfectly before you get going. So we're gonna focus in here up close on this thing, and I'm gonna show you how these things assemble. So the very first step to this is we're going to take that inner clamping ring and put it inside of our tire. All you want to do is make sure that that lip that we talked about, the bead, is inside of this whole thing, meaning that it's towards the inner part of the wheel and that clamping ring is towards the outer side. You'll see what I mean kind of when we get it in there. That bead will just lightly fold over that whole thing around the outside. Then you take the 2 halves of the wheel. Now, one thing to pay attention to is that these things bolt together with these 6 screws in the center, and they bolt into a center hub. Now, that's this piece here, and that's what has your hex milled into the backside. Now, what you need to pay attention to is the design on this face. You want to make sure that you get them matched up with those 6 holes as well as the face. I got lucky there and got it on the first time. The last time I actually had to spin it all the way around before I actually finally got the right combination. So there you go. See how all of the spokes on the face of that wheel line up. Now that's something you need to pay attention to, because if you start to bolt together off pattern, you'll actually have an odd looking wheel. So we slide the back in and then the face. Now I may have lost my orientation there, but we're going to, we got it right the very first time. So make sure that the bead is looks like it's seating inside of that the whole time. What you don't want is you don't want it kind of hanging out like that. So pay attention, make sure that everything fits nicely inside, and then we're going to start by installing the hub. Take that hub, make sure the hex part is facing the rear. You'll want to line it up with the holes through the face. Make sure it's pressed in there. And then you're going to reinstall the 6 screws that came in the hub using just a standard 2.0 millimeter driver. Now, I don't suggest tightening down all of the hub or all of the screws all the way at first. Start each one of them, kind of tighten them up, and then do it in a star pattern just like you would with the lug nuts of a real vehicle. All right, we've tightened all 6 of those center hex bolts down. We can take a look around again and make sure that the bead is secured well in that thing all the way around, and it looks like we're good. We'll give it a little tug. Everything seems to hold really well, and the bead hasn't come out in any surface. So those things clamp onto an axial tire extremely well. Now, other tires have different beads, and I by no means can speak to the bead holding ability of this wheel with other tires, but with an axial tire, holds as good as most of the other rims that I have here. So we're gonna throw these on the car. Last thing I'm going to talk to you about though is tire venting. So let's get them on there first, and then we'll talk a little bit about tire venting. Now that you've got those on there, these tires pretty much sealed up. If you push on them, you can kind of see them balloon up. Now you may be thinking, a full-size car, you want that tire to be able to hold air. It's different with RC. The construction of a tire, all of that different thing, so much different, and it doesn't necessarily translate. So do not leave your tires like this. There is downsides to that. Proper foams are key. This week we can't get to that. We will shortly though, because that is a very, very important part of getting your crawler to perform well. Using air pressure or any of these other gimmicks is not the right way to go, and you're flat out not going to get as good a performance as you can if you put in a proper set of foams. So we will touch on this. We'll have a whole week on it, I'm pretty sure. So, and it'll probably come up here pretty soon, because the stock foams in these tires, pretty soft. Now, the stock wheels were vented. These wheels are not vented, especially with that 3-piece design. Venting the wheels is not that easy of a task either. And in general, I don't vent my wheels, I vent my tires. Now, you may not be all that excited about the idea of getting in there with a pair of body scissors and cutting holes in your tires, but it doesn't have to be that big of a deal. Typically what I do is I make 2 roughly 1/8 size diameter holes in 2 spots on the tire, usually on opposite sides of the tire in the middle of the tread. Not in an actual tread block, but between 2 of the tread blocks. The other option is to do it on the back side of the tire, on the inside where you're not really going to see it either. Now, that is one thing that I didn't mention. When mounting your tires, make sure you pay attention to the direction, because you will need to assemble the tires differently on those beadlock wheels to make sure you have them all pointing the correct direction. So what I'm going to do is show you the method that I use on how I vent these tires. It's very simple, and once you start doing it, you get over that painful feeling that you get the very first time you cut into a set of tires. Couple of little details that I didn't get to. Those stock plastic hub covers that were on the stock wheels, we're not going to reuse those. They don't actually fit with that 6-bolt style hub in there. So these are going to get put to the side. We will talk about some scale hubs along down the road. Also, one other thing or feature about these wheels that I didn't mention is that that 6-bolt hub that you do see is Vanquish SLW hub compatible. So if you would like to adjust the offset of these wheels down the road, there's options for those already on the market. Now, these hubs use 3mm hardware, and the Vanquish stuff uses a 440 screw. So if you do pick up Vanquish hubs, make sure to pick up a hub screw kit as well at that same time. Save yourself the shipping. Other than that, guys, that's all we got for week 4. Pretty simple little wheel and tire swap. Hopefully it was helpful for you guys who want to reuse those stock R35 tires, but want to throw a little bit of a change up by replacing your wheels. That's all we got for now, guys, and we'll see you next week for week 5.